Mount Pleasant's Community Development Authority is considering declaring 2,900 acres of prime farmland and beautiful rural residences blighted. We object. The law that the CDA is considering using is called the Blight Elimination and Slum Clearance Act. The Blight Elimination and Slum Clearance Act declares, "It is found and declared that the existence of substandard, deteriorated, slum, and blighted areas and blighted properties is a matter of statewide concern. It is the policy of this state to protect and promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people of the state in which these areas and blighted properties exist by the elimination and prevention of these areas." That law is several decades old. The CDA is using this definition of a blighted area. Quote, "An area which is predominantly open and which, because of obsolete platting, diversity of ownership, deterioration of structures or of site improvements, or otherwise, substantially impairs or arrests the sound growth of the community." That is a pretty open definition. The problem with the CDA's argument is that in response to statewide outrage over the use of eminent domain to take private property for the benefit of developers, Wisconsin passed legislation in 2005 to block the overuse of eminent domain. Wisconsin Statute 32.03 sub 6 gives a stricter definition of blighted property and adds the rule that, quote, "Property that consists of only one dwelling unit is not blighted property unless, in addition, at least one of the following applies. The property is not occupied by the owner of the property, his or her spouse, or an individual related to the owner by blood, marriage, or adoption. Or the crime rate in, on, or adjacent to the property is at least 3 times the crime rate in the remainder of the municipality in which the property is located. Because the properties consist of only one dwelling unit and are occupied by the owner of the property and their spouses, and because the project area is a low crime area, the properties are protected by law from being declared blighted. Chapter 32.03 sub 6 of the Wisconsin statutes means that the language that the CDA is considering using does not apply. The CDA is wrong. Let's take a closer look at the project area that Mount Pleasant CDA is considering declaring blighted. It consists of prime farmland, protected ecological areas, and beautiful rural residences on spacious lots. The village's own documents make this clear. Land use in the village is coordinated through a statutorily required master land use plan. Under the 2003 master land use plan, as revised in January of 2014, part of the northern portion of the project area had been designated as business park and commercial. The remainder of the project area was agricultural preservation and agricultural future use, with a natural area designated in the western portion. The Park and Open Space Plan for the Village of Mount Pleasant 2035, dated April 2015, was adopted into law by the Village of Mount Pleasant by ordinance. It was a 6-0 vote that took place on April 27th of 2015. Map 13 on page 56 of the Open Spaces Plan makes it clear that most of the project area is in the farmland preservation area. The areas reserved for farmland preservation are shaded in brown. The Open Space Plan discusses the Racine County Farmland Preservation Plan. On page 55, the Open Space Plan states, quote, "Lands identified as farmland preservation areas are intended to be preserved for agricultural and agricultural-related uses, including resource protection." The Park and Open Spaces Plan also shows that the project area is unsewered. Map 11 of the Park and Open Space Plan shows that part of the project area was actually designated as a priority protection area for the Pike River watershed. Page 31 of the Park and Open Space Plan shows that part of the project area includes a secondary environmental protection area and a protective stream buffer. As stated on page 30 of the Open Space Plan, quote, "Secondary environmental corridors facilitate surface water drainage and provide corridors for the movement of wildlife. Such corridors should also be preserved in essentially open, natural uses as development proceeds within the village, particularly when the opportunity is presented to incorporate the corridors into drainage ways, neighborhood parks, or trail corridors." The project area also contains the Kilburn Road Ditch, an aquatic habitat discussed on pages 34 to 36 of the Open Spaces Plan. The chart on page 34 explains of the Kilburn Road Ditch, quote, This reach is an important reservoir for the pirate perch, a special concern fish species. Pages 9 and 10 of the Agricultural Impact Statement dated 11/10/17 affirm that the project area consists of almost 100% prime farmland with scattered rural residences. The project area is prime agricultural land. As indicated on page 12 of the Agricultural Impact Statement, quote, most of the property in the project area is part of the Racine County Farmland Preservation Plan that was certified by the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection in 2015. What about the argument that the farmland and rural residences are inconsistent with the zoning of the project area? Page 5 of the redevelopment plan states that, quote, the agricultural and residential uses are currently non-conforming uses since the entire proposed project area has been rezoned BP, Business Park. While this is true, it should be noted that the uses in the project area were almost universally conforming and consistent prior to the rezoning. The redevelopment plan even acknowledges this, stating also on page 5 that, quote, the existing uses align with the original planning concept, which was for the continuation of agricultural uses in this area. What the village's master land use plan, the village's open spaces plan, and the agricultural impact statement show is that prior to the Foxconn project, there was no plan to develop the project area. The project area was slated to remain in conservation, agricultural, rural residential, and consistent uses at least to 2035. These uses were entirely consistent with the master land use plan, the open spaces plan, and the overall objectives and planning at both the village and county levels. Therefore, the area is not blighted. Furthermore, the specific properties of our clients are not blighted. To be clear, prior to the Foxconn project, even if 66.1333(2)(m)(b)(3) were the correct legal standard, which it is not, the designation of blight would not apply to this area. There were absolutely no issues with obsolete platting, diversity of ownership, or lack of functional integration in the project area. The uses in the project area were appropriate and consistent with the Master Land Use Plan as revised January of 2014 and the Open Spaces Plan, which was passed into law April 27th of 2015. The village's own comprehensive plan sets forth the following goals. Goal 1. Maintain the agricultural base, preserving productive farmland and environmentally sensitive areas. Goal 2. Maintain the environmental assets of the community and develop methods to protect and preserve valuable natural resources. Goal 3. Preserve open space to enhance the total quality of the environment, maximize essential natural resource availability, give form and structure to urban development, and provide opportunities for a full range of outdoor recreation activities. Goal 4. Protect and enhance cultural structures, historic sites and districts, and archaeological sites. Goal 5. Encourage a public participation process that provides equity and fairness to landowners and other stakeholders balanced with responsible land use. Goal 6. Guide future growth in a manner that preserves and enhances the quality of life and character of urban and rural communities. This is the land that Mount Pleasant is considering declaring blighted. Land that prior to the Foxconn project met all 6 goals. This land is prime farmland. It was designated as agricultural preservation. Part of it was a conservation area. Wisconsin's prime farmland and beautiful rural residences are not blighted. We urge the CDA to responsibly exercise its power and refuse to declare that the properties in the project area are blighted. On behalf of my clients, I'm attorney Eric Olson from Eminent Domain Services, LLC.